Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my complete analysis of all 389 Bach chorale harmonizations. My name's Forrest, and this is the fourth installment in the series. We're going to be looking at Es ist das Heil uns kommen her today, which roughly translates to Salvation has come to us. There's some interesting harmonic movement in the piece. Let's go ahead and get started by looking at the key signature for sharps. That means we're in the key of E major, and the reason why I know that is because the first chord we have is E, and the last chord that we have is E. So I think that that's a bet that we can likely take. That being said, let's go to the next beat, or the first beat. E E G sharp B. That's an E major triad, and that's going to be followed by a B major triad, which interestingly enough does not have a third in it. Actually, no, it does have a third in it. D sharp, F sharp, F sharp, B. But Bach doubles the fifth, which is interesting. We have a passing tone marked there, and then we have B, E, A, B. This is interesting because this is not a tertian triad. This would be like a sus chord nowadays. But we see that the chord, what could be analyzed as a 1-6-4, it really turns into a 5-3 right here. That A goes down and the bass leaps up. We then have an interesting thing that happens right here. We have a D major triad, so instead of analyzing that as 7, I really do think that this beat right here is where we start to move towards A major. And with that A major chord, that E is no longer a 1, it's a 4, or rather a 5. And then this D right here turns into 4, 4-6. Then we have two passing tones, and then it goes to 1. We see this 5-4-1 pattern a couple of times during the chorale, actually. Another passing tone. Then we have some counterpoint here where the inner voices are doing the same thing, really. They're having the longer note value on one and. But what ends up happening really is we have this sort of sus chord again that happens with the second in between the upper two voices. But really what we're looking at is what happens on the following beat. We have E, D, G sharp, and B. That's a 5-7 chord in root position. Then we have, some more passing tones, some more non-chord tones, things that are happening in the inner voices. And then we have a cadence on 1. A perfect authentic cadence. And I think because we see D sharp on the following beat, this 1 just means that we're going back to E. And that E, or that A chord rather, would be our 4 now instead of our 1. And here we have D sharp B, F sharp B. It's a 5 chord in the key of E major, and that's immediately followed by an E major triad, which is just a 1 chord. We have a passing tone in the bass, and then we just get an inversion of the same triad. We have B still held in the tenor, so this is G sharp, B, E. So we'll just put a 6 there. Sort of a passing tone going on there, as well as some passing tones going on in the upper voices. And then we have C sharp, G sharp, E, G sharp. We have another doubling of the fifth there, and that's just a 6 chord in the key of E major. F sharp, C, A sharp. That's interesting. That's a F sharp major triad. That would be 5 of 5. But I think what's happening here is because we see A sharp and then we have a cadence on B over here, which doesn't sound like a half cadence if you listen to the chorale. I think we actually modulate to B major here. And in fact, we're just going to go ahead and call that 5 now. This will be our common chord. And then we have D sharp, F sharp, F sharp, and B. He really loves doubling the fifth, doesn't he? Yeah. We have some passing tones going on there, but this is a 1 chord in first inversion, a 1-6. We have some more counterpoint going on in the lower voices on the weak beats. We have F sharp, E, C sharp, and A sharp, but it gets introduced a little bit later, so we kind of have this 4-3 suspension going on over the F sharp. That's a 5-7 chord for sure. And then we end on a 1 chord if we're thinking in terms of B. Okay, and after the repeat, we do still stay in B major because we get another perfect authentic cadence here, just like the one we had here. On beat 3, 3 measures later, or more specifically 2 and an incomplete measure later. But let's take a look at it. So we have E, G sharp, E, B, passing tone. That's a 4 chord in the key of B major. And then we have C sharp, C sharp, G sharp, E. That would be a 2 chord in the key of B major with a passing tone. That A sharp indicates that we're still thinking in terms of B. And here we have D sharp, F sharp, B, D sharp. That is a 1 chord in first inversion. Another passing tone in the bass. We have F sharp, A sharp, C. It's a 5 chord in root position. And then we have B, F sharp, B, D sharp. That's a 1 chord. Then we have G sharp, B, B, E. That's a 4 chord. That's an E major triad in first inversion. We have some kind of like escape tone or something, and a passing tone also in the soprano, where we have a 5 chord here, F sharp, A sharp, F sharp, C sharp. And then we have B, D sharp, F sharp, B, just a root position triad in the key of B major. However, if you listen to the chorale after this, I think this is where we hear our return to our return to E major. We get a 1 chord immediately after. It sounds like kind of like a spontaneous modulation a little bit. So we're going to say that that B chord is the common chord here. Okay, so then we have G sharp, B, E, E. That's a 1 chord, but in first inversion. We have a passing tone, and then we have E, E, G sharp, B. Another thing where he's just sort of going between the different inversions, like an inversion just back to its regular root position spelling. Then we have A, E, A, C sharp. That's a 4 chord in root position. Passing tone, C sharp, E, G. That would be a 6 chord, a C sharp minor triad in the key of E major. And then we get an interesting thing here, because if you get to this cadence right here, we see that we have a C sharp major triad coming up. So I'm convinced that actually what's happening on this downbeat right here is, or not this downbeat, like this and of the upbeat, is going to end up being our modulation to an interesting key, to F sharp minor. It is a nearby key because it is the relative minor to A, but it's interesting that we get this brief reprise, or this brief detour. I didn't mean reprise, I meant detour there. So if we're in the key of F sharp minor, this 2 chord that arises from this C sharp being in the bass, it's also part of like sort of like a passing tone figure. Kind of, sort of, I don't know, it is technically happening on a weak beat. I'm going to say that the modulation happens here, but you could very easily say that it happens here as well. And here we have E sharp, D, G sharp, B. That is a fully diminished 7th chord in the key of F sharp minor. Then we have F sharp, C, F sharp, A. And remember, we have F sharp minor now instead of F sharp major, so that's just our 1 chord. And then we cadence on 5. That's a half cadence. That's our first half cadence that we've had so far. It's been perfect authentic cadences for the entire piece up until this point. And then I think what happens is that we get honestly just a direct modulation to E. So this C sharp the C sharp major just directly goes to E without going to F sharp. It happens after a fermata, so this is kind of like a new thought. And I wrote E twice there. What I meant to write was E and then a Roman numeral 1, because all we have here is an E major triad. And then we have B, B, D sharp, F sharp. That's just a 5 chord. Then we have C sharp, E, A. That's a 4 chord in first inversion. Then we get a passing tone, E, B, E, G sharp. That's another E major triad. That is a 1 chord. Again, with that 5, 4, 1. We saw that again. 5, 4, 1 in the key of A major earlier. And then we have B, B, D, F sharp, a 5 chord. We don't need to analyze this because that's just another chord tone. That's a B. Also just show another, again, where the tenor is sort of like doing a voice exchange, And then it's kind of a weird thing going on here. I don't really like the way that this edition is formatted, but you know what? It works out. It's okay. I can still read it. That's what matters. Then we get a really interesting cadence here. We get an A sharp in the bass, A sharp, F sharp, C sharp. That is a 5/6 of 5. B, F sharp, B, D sharp. That's just a 5 chord. And then E, E, B, or E, G sharp, E, B. So one chord. So we explore some interesting keys here. We go to A, we go to B, we go to F sharp minor very briefly. It's a really cool cadence where he cadences on C sharp major and then immediately goes to E. Those minor third movements are very Renaissance in their sound. It's something that you would hear a lot, sort of like G major going to B flat major. That's something that I associate very strongly with Renaissance music. So I think this being like an early Bach work, I think that this is it's really neat how it finds its way into the chorales, especially like in in the tonal period. But that being said, that's the chorale. Lots of interesting harmonic movement. I'm looking forward to the next chorale that we analyze tomorrow. I hope everyone is having a happy new year so far, and thanks for watching.